Have you ever looked at a reptile and thought, what the heck is that and why does it look like that? Well, today we're going to go over the top 5 weirdest looking reptiles in the whole world. I'm Adam, you're watching Wicked to Wicked Reptiles, stick around. Let's just get right into it with the goofiest thing that I've ever seen. Number 5. Chinese softshell turtles. Now, there's a few different types of softshell turtles out there. They're all kind of weird looking. But Chinese softshell turtles kind of look like if someone picked their nose and flung it on the ground and it had feet. That's what it looks like. They've got these weird pig-like noses and these useless looking feet, which are actually pretty great for swimming, by the way. And they pee out of their mouths. These things are very strange. They come from, well, parts of Asia, of course, but they've also got these populations in places like Hawaii where they don't belong, and they're going to live in places like swamps or slow-moving streams, places like that. They can live in brackish water or they can live in fresh water, which is very unique. I love animals that can live in different types of water, different types of ecosystems or areas. It's just very interesting to me. And these things are lazy. They are super lazy sometimes. They'll lay at the bottom of a very shallow, slow-moving stream or a very shallow pond, something like that, and then they'll just lay there. And they'll lift their head up every once in a while, kind of derpy-like, so they can take a breath of fresh air or, you know, grab a meal. To me, it just gives me the image like these things are the biggest couch potatoes of waterways that you could possibly have. They look weird. They are weird. I love these things, and softshell turtles are number 5. All right, number 4. This is probably something you've seen before, dragon snakes. These are the most interesting looking things to me. In terms of snakes, these things look crazy. I mean, not only are they beautiful, but they look very different. And they've got a weird defense mechanism too. If you pick one up or if they feel like they're threatened, they like stiffen out and they become like rigid, and instead of biting you, it's very strange. Now these guys, they are part of the colubrid family technically, although there is conflicting evidence and conflicting information on the internet. There's not a lot of information about them in the wild, and in captivity, they really don't do well. This is something that I would recommend never buying unless you want to stick it in your freezer 3 days later so you can bury it in the spring, it's not a good idea. They don't do well in captivity at all. And even if you can find one, it's definitely going to be not captive. It's going to be imported. It's going to be wild caught. So I wouldn't recommend ever having one for those several reasons that I mentioned. And they're not prolific breeders anyway. You're not going to make a ton of money because even if you can keep them alive, best of luck. And you can breed them, best of luck. 2 to 4 eggs is generally their clutch size. Maybe could be smaller than that, just 1 egg, or it could be, no eggs. It's very difficult to breed these things from the very few attempts that I could find on the internet of people trying to do this. The scales on their back, they're not found really in any other types except for closely related snakes, which there aren't a ton of. So if you want to do more research on them, they come from parts of Asia and they look awesome, but maybe not for your collection. Alright, let's bring it back around to something that you could probably have and thrive in captivity. Number 3, rubber boas. Awesome snakes. If this is the one on the list, if I could possibly find one, I would keep one. I think rubber boas are really cool. They're really manageable in terms of their size, which is somewhere around 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet type thing, but they don't really get bigger than that. They've got this head that looks like their tail, and the tail looks like their head. A really cool defense mechanism, and they are part of the boa family, so they do give live birth, and they constrict their prey. So it's kind of like a mini boa that looks kind of like a mini brown anaconda. They are so freaking cool. And you can find these snakes in parts of British Columbia. You can find them in Oregon as well, and possibly other places. I'll put the map right here. They're native lands where you can find them, their distribution, their range. But to me, to find a boa species in Canada seems crazy. When you think of boas, you think of hot, you think of humid, you think of big, generally, right? There are several types of boas that stay pretty small, but, I got Franny, who's a BCI, just a, common boa, and she's already like 5.5 feet. So this boa, it's kind of the same size as a sand boa. If you are watching this and you breed rubber boas or know where to find one in Canada, what's up? And it's kind of surprising to me. I would like to know why they're not more common in the pet trade, because, I guess they're difficult to breed from what I understand, but in terms of a snake that doesn't really want to bite you, this is as good as it gets most of the time. These things, they don't ever really bite you. From the people I've talked to who actually own these things or have worked with them, they almost never bite, which to me is awesome because, I mean, who likes getting bit by snakes? Not cool. And number 2, this is our only lizard on the list. Very interesting, toad-headed agamas. Now, I know there's a bunch of different species and people like to use the Latin name, but I mean, toad-headed agamas. This is what they look like. These guys kind of look like if you took the creators of Jurassic Park and then mixed them with Game of Thrones and they created a creature. That's what a toad-headed agama looks like. Very cool, very small. They live in these very sparsely populated areas of deserts. They do this weird thing with their tails to communicate with each other where they pretend like they're a scorpion. But from what I understand, they don't use that as self-defense. So they have like the scorpion thing that they use to like talk to other males if they ever get into contact with them, which is going to be pretty rare considering where they live, these giant deserts in parts of Eastern Europe and mostly Asia, like the Middle East also. So I don't know why you wouldn't use that as self-defense, but scientists think that they don't use that. But instead, they've got these, like, flap things. And that's why I think it kind of looks like Jurassic Park. Like, I know the Newman dinosaur, the one that ate Newman in Jurassic Park, kind of looks more like a frilly than anything else, but I don't know, this is kind of like if a frilly had mouth frillies also. I don't know, super crazy looking to me. I think they're awesome, and you can find them in the pet trade pretty easily. Not super easily, not like at Petco or PetSmart, but your local reptile shop might have them. I've seen them at Toronto expos, at reptile expos in Toronto. So I think you could probably find one, especially in the States. Stuff is more easily available there a lot of the time. To find something like this that is kind of easy to keep, right? They eat mostly insects. They do need UVB light, of course, but they're nocturnal, so they're going to be, you know, out during the nighttime, most likely, and they need a sand substrate, which is interesting, because a lot of people hate on having a sand substrate. With these guys, that's what they need. They do this weird thing where they vibrate their bodies and kind of like shuttle under the sand. It's like the coolest thing. And then they do that tail thing, and they've got the weird things on their mouth. I think that these are the craziest looking, the weirdest looking lizards that I've ever seen. If you think there's something weirder, put it in the comment section below. I'd love to see something crazier than a toad-headed agama. Alright, number 1, and if you've watched this channel before, you might have watched my Dream Reptiles video up here, where I talk about also number 1, gharials. Now, these are not something I'd recommend you get in your collection. I don't think that anybody should have one, and in fact, they are endangered where they are from, so probably not gonna happen for you. But if you want to know about them, these are 400-pound or larger animals that look like crocodiles who just ate a lemon. They've got these weird looking snout things, and they got a bulb thing on their nose. They are funky looking and a little bit too scary to say it to their face. So yeah, they do look a little bit derpy, and they can't really run on land like most crocodilians can. In fact, they kind of just drag their bellies like an obese wiener dog or something, I don't know. So they're always near the water, and they kind of do this thing where they keep their mouths open in shallow streams and wait for a fish to go by and then chomp. And that's why they've got those jaws like that with the interlocking teeth, and so that way if they don't pierce the fish is just kind of caught in their jaws, and game over for you, little fishy. These are pig-eating, monitor-munching, crazy-looking dinosaur things. And they use that gharial thing. People think, or scientists is what I mean by people, not some dude on the internet. They think that they use them for breeding. So it's kind of to make vibrations and bubbles and noises in the water to attract females because, I mean, who wouldn't want someone with a giant bulbous thing on their nose? That is what you're looking for if you're a female gharial, apparently. These guys are temperature sex dimorphic in the egg. So they lay eggs, and depending on the temperature, they can be a male or a female, just like leopard geckos, wherever my leopard gecko just went. That's cool to me, and if you want to look at them in the wild, well, parts of India and Nepal are where you're going to find them, but again, they are endangered, so, I mean, best of luck. And there you go, my top 5 weirdest reptiles in the entire world. What do you think? Is there something I should have put on the list? Is something on the list not all that weird after all? I'd love to hear it in the comments section below. If you like videos like this, smash that subscribe button, hit the like button, I'd appreciate that. And because I do videos twice a week, that means that I'll see you on Thursday.